When I look back at my teenage years, there are so many things I wish I had appreciated more. I grew up in Ohio, in a quiet suburban neighborhood where life seemed ordinary, even dull at times. My mother, Diane, was a single parent, working two jobs to provide for me. She rarely had time for herself, and though I admired her strength, I often felt the emptiness of not having enough people around to guide me. That was until one summer when my mother's old friend, Sarah, came into our lives again. That summer changed me in ways I never expected. It all started when my mother got a phone call on a Saturday morning. I had just turned 16, and I was in the living room watching TV when she walked in smiling in a way I hadn't seen in a while. "That was Sarah," she said. "Do you remember her?" I shook my head. Mom laughed, explaining Sarah had been her closest friend during college, and they hadn't seen each other in nearly 10 years. Sarah was moving back to town for a job at the local hospital. "She'll be stopping by tomorrow," Mom said, almost giddy with excitement. When Sarah showed up the next day, I was stunned. She had this warm energy that filled the room, and her smile seemed to carry a story of its own. She hugged my mother tightly, and then she turned to me. "You must be Emily," she said, her voice gentle. I nodded shyly. There was something calming about her, like she could see past whatever front I put up as a teenager. She asked me about school, my hobbies, and what I wanted to do in the future. I remember thinking she actually cares to listen. Over the next few weeks, Sarah became a regular visitor. Sometimes she came for coffee with my mom, but often she came even when Mom was working late. At first, I thought it was strange. Why would she spend time with me? But Sarah seemed to notice things about me that others didn't. She saw that I loved drawing but didn't show anyone my sketches. She asked me about the book I always carried in my backpack. She noticed the way I got quiet whenever someone mentioned my dad, who had left when I was 10. One evening, when the summer heat made it impossible to sit inside, we sat on the porch steps. She told me about her own teenage years, how she had struggled to fit in, how she'd felt invisible in a crowd. "But here's the thing," she said softly, "sometimes the person you're meant to be is hidden under all the noise. You just need someone to believe in you enough to help you find it." I didn't say much, but I felt a lump in my throat. For the first time, I thought maybe I wasn't as alone as I had believed. Weeks turned into months, and Sarah's presence grew in my life. She taught me little lessons: how to cook her favorite pasta dish, how to organize my time better for school, and even how to breathe through anxiety when I was overwhelmed before exams. More than that, she became someone I trusted. One night, I confessed to her that I felt lost, like I didn't know where I belonged. Sarah listened carefully and said, "Emily, you don't need all the answers right now. Just keep moving, keep trying. You'll find your place." I didn't realize how much her words mattered until one difficult afternoon. I had failed a math test, and some kids at school had made fun of me for being quiet. I came home ready to explode with frustration. Sarah happened to be there, sitting at the kitchen table with my mom. I stormed past them, but Sarah followed me into my room.
"Talk to me," she said.
And for the first time, I cried in front of someone who wasn't my mom. She didn't give me a lecture or tell me to toughen up. She just sat with me, reminding me that failure wasn't permanent, and that kindness, even to myself, was the bravest thing I could practice. Slowly, things started to change for me. I joined the art club at school, encouraged by Sarah's belief in my drawings. I tried out for a volunteer program at the community center, inspired by the way she worked at the hospital with such dedication. My world began to feel bigger, less suffocating. I started to believe I could grow into someone strong, someone who could give to others the way she gave to me. One moment I'll never forget happened at my school's art showcase. I had displayed 3 of my sketches on the wall, and I was terrified no one would stop to look. But when I saw Sarah standing there, tears in her eyes, smiling proudly at me, something clicked. "You have a gift," she whispered when I walked over. "Don't ever hide it again." That night, I realized she had become more than just my mother's friend. She was a mentor, a guide, and someone I would always carry in my heart. Years later, when I graduated high school, Sarah sat in the audience next to my mom, cheering louder than anyone else. I went on to study art in college, and I often thought of her when things got hard. Every brushstroke I painted, every design I created, carried the weight of her belief in me. Now, as I sit here telling the story, I realize that sometimes the people who change our lives don't come in dramatic ways. Sometimes, it's a gentle presence, a friend of your mother who chooses to see you for who you are, who gives you courage when you didn't even know you needed it. Sarah changed my life, not by doing something extraordinary, but by being extraordinary in the simplest ways. And for that, I will always be grateful.